a 60. What's good, guys? This is Rio, and today I'm sitting behind the wheel of a Tesla Model 3, a long-range dual-motor variant, the middle trim of the Tesla Model 3. And just one time, I gotta shout out my boy Elon up there. Shout out to Elon. But anyway, I'm sitting behind the wheel of a pre-facelift Model 3. So this is a 2020 and prior model, not the new 2021 slight refresh they've done. However, many people looking to buy used Model 3s, which are slightly more affordable, obviously, than the new ones, will be looking at these pre-facelifted models. So I kind of want to discuss what you get for your money when you get behind the wheel and when you actually go ahead and purchase a Tesla Model 3. Now, I know that this car is one of those kind of all the buzz type cars. In case you guys didn't notice, there's one parked right next to me. So it's becoming a very popular car. Tesla's numbers are definitely booming, if you will. But I'm a car enthusiast, so my initial inkling is to say kind of F Tesla. I want to dislike it, but I guess you'll all come to find out when you watch the driving portion of the video that I actually do kind of enjoy driving this car. So with the Model 3, you get three options. You can get the standard range car, which is a rear-wheel drive, single battery, single motor vehicle. You can get the long range model, which this is, which is an all-wheel drive dual motor vehicle, or you can get the top of the line performance trim, and that gives you also all-wheel drive, also two motors, but even more power, and it's basically this car on steroids. Slightly better brakes, a little bit lower suspension, tighter suspension. That's basically it. Tesla has done something that no other car manufacturer usually does, which is reduce prices kind of consistently, something that, again, most brands typically go up and up and up. Tesla has, for 2021, on this exact car, on the long-range mid-level vehicle, actually lowered the starting price from $48,990 to $46,990. One thing I specifically want to point out is that when you go on Tesla's website to configure a car, you'll notice the prices look really, really appealing because Tesla automatically includes potential savings. I understand that you will actually save money in certain ways when it comes to owning, maintaining, and even fueling, if you will, an electric vehicle, but I like to look at the actual price, what you're actually paying at the end of the day, and not factor in things like gas, because when I lease a car or buy a car, I don't factor in gas into the price. I just pay the car, and then the other stuff is separate. So the actual prices are roughly around $38,000 for the base car, roughly around $47,000 for the long-range car, and roughly around $55,000 for the top performance level car. It is worthy of mentioning that there aren't a ton of options with Model 3s, which I actually like. That's one of the things Tesla does that I like. You kind of, options are awesome in one sense. Having options in life is great, but I think we get so caught up in like, oh, I have this option you don't have, this package, this trim, I got this paint to sample, right? So I think with that in mind, it's nice that it's just exterior color, just wheels, just interior color, which is only white or black. Trim comes as it is, meaning you get either this kind of white aluminum trim with the white car, with the white interior, or you get a wood trim with the black interior. That's that. You don't get to pick. Everything is standard. On this car, for instance, you get a Harman Kardon audio system, pretty cool stuff like that. All comes standard. All the cameras, all the sensors, everything is standard. You even got a little secret one spine on you here in the interior above the rear view mirror. So anyway, just want to point that out. And then the only other option you have left is whether or not you want to tick the box for Autopilot. Now, this is as controversial as it gets, and I'm not going to go out here and claim that I'm an engineer or a scientist or that I perfectly understand Tesla's Autopilot. What I will tell you is that this car doesn't have it. So I'll link some articles at the top of the description below if you guys want to go. I'm not going to be the one to tell you the facts or the details because I don't know. I haven't done the research in that sense, but I've read these articles. I tend to believe in these articles a bit. You guys can make a decision for yourselves. I think at $10,000, it's tough to tack that onto a car that's only around $45,000, $50,000. The option used to only be like $5,000 just a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I think roughly 2 years ago, but it slowly went from 5 to 6 to 7, I think then 8, and then just jumped to 10. So it's definitely a pricey option. I know Elon's big thing is buy it now, or you're going to pay more in the future, and he's kind of stood behind that, except he hasn't delivered real full self-driving. But I want to focus on driving this car, giving you my thoughts on what you actually do get for the car that you actually can drive. So let's do the tall boy test and let's get this puppy out on the road. So without further ado, here's the tall boy test. right, so pulling the Tesla Model 3 out onto the road, there's a lot I got to get through with this car. This car has a lot of tech, a lot of design elements, and driving characteristics that I got to mention to you guys. The very first thing I want to get out of the way is discussing the kind of design and particularly the interior setup of this car. So the design on the exterior, I think, is not too bad. There's a couple angles where it looks a little bit bulbous to me, but overall I would argue that you get a pretty sleek looking car with this. In some ways it still has those Aston Martin, Tesla design elements going for it. And again, from the rear and from certain angles it does look quite sporty. From like the front 3/4 it looks decently sporty. Now as for the interior, it is in certain ways a bit bleak, or definitely, let's say, Spartan and very minimalist. I would argue that there's definitely a learning curve with having everything only on this one large center iPad Pro style screen. I think that it's not terrible. You know, if you spend about an hour or two in this car, you'll get used to looking at your speed here, and you'll get used to operating it. I think it can be a bit distracting, to be fair. Like, you're gonna be touching the screen, interacting with it, and it's effectively like taping an iPad Pro to your dash and then playing with it while you're driving. So it's not the safest thing, but on the flip side, this car has a bunch of active safety features and it keeps track of things. So at least to an extent, it has you a little bit covered, but again, refer back to those articles and you'll see that it's a slippery slope. So anyway, I digress. The couple things I don't like regarding the one large screen being the only thing you have kind of thing is I wish little simple things like the glove box just had a latch so you could open. I don't like that you have to go into a menu and find the button and then press it on the screen to open your glove box. I think that's completely counterintuitive and wastes time when that kind of little thing could just have a switch, right? So those kinds of things, but the window switches, they're fine. The door handle thing is just a button, which again, it's finicky. Owners tend to like it because their passengers are like, what is that? How to open the door? And then it adds a little bit of a gimmick in theater. Everyone likes to show their car off to their friends and family, so it gives you a little bit of that, but it might get old after a while. The exterior door handles, I'm not a huge fan of because they are a bit finicky, and like, it's cool again, it's very Aston Martin, you'd have to, or even like a Jaguar, to have to press one side of it to pull the other side, but again, most people don't know how to open the door. Besides it looking very sleek, it's just, it never feels that good to do. The action doesn't ever feel comfortable or smooth, and I would prefer pop-out door handles like you'd find in a Range Rover, for instance, if Tesla was so dead set on keeping that sleek body line going. I would almost never go for a light color interior, but I gotta admit, it kind of works in the Teslas. I see you, David Dobrik, you got the white interior too, I think. But it's cool to have white interior in Tesla. It definitely goes along with the vibe and the feel of a Tesla. Although I would warn that if you wear raw denim, you're gonna stain these. In general, you can stain these so easily, but especially with raw denim, you're gonna stain them real quick. One thing that they've changed with 2021 that I kind of wish this car had is the center console is no longer this horrible piano gloss black trim that gets dirty, dusty, shows fingerprint scratches, all of that. It's terrible, impossible to keep clean, and a lot of people would in fact get it wrapped. Now Tesla's kind of wrapped it for you, meaning it's all matte now, and they've changed the design a tiny bit, but far from what I would call a deal breaker for someone considering buying a used car. In fact, all of the updates they've made are not really worthy of paying the extra money if you're on a budget. Buying new, of course, a whole other matter. While we're on the topic of what they've changed, I also want to mention one of the coolest things they've changed in 2021 that I really do like is they've blacked out all of the chrome trim outside. I gotta admit that I have seen it in person, and I kind of wish it was gloss black trim and not matte black trim, because it kind of just looks like plasti dipped trim, something you could just do to your pre-facelift, if you want to call it, or pre-updated Model 3. Yeah, most people definitely tend to like that blacked out trim anyway, so it's nice that Tesla's offering that. I think they brought that over because the Model Y launched with black trim. They were like, gotta do on the Model 3 also. Other than that, I'll link a video up above right here that will fully explain all the little changes that have occurred between the 20 and the 21 model year. You guys are more than welcome to check that out after this video and see exactly what's changed and deem if it's worth the upgrade for yourself. But we got to get to my favorite thing about this car, and the one thing this car does better than kind of the vast majority of its competition. The way I see it, a base Model 3, the standard vehicle, competes with the likes of Audi A4s, BMW 330i's, Mercedes C300s. This next level, this car, the long range, the dual motor, competes with then the next tier of car, which would be like an M340i, an Audi S4, Mercedes C43, and the likes of those cars. And then the top vehicle, the performance variant, that would effectively then compete with an M3 and RS4, RS5, and with the C63 AMG. Well, I gotta say, compared to the competition, and this is especially true of the two dual motor vehicles, they kind of kill the competition when it comes to straight line performance and acceleration. Let me give you guys a little slight example of it. I'm going about 35 miles an hour, and if I step on it, this thing, I mean, that was 65. It's just, and this is, remember, this isn't even the performance, this is the middle trim. It's just ridiculously quick, especially that first 20-25 miles an hour. I mean, it's that instantaneous torque you get out of an electric vehicle, something you'll never get in a combustion engine car. I'll give it another one for you guys here. I mean, it's one of those cars that's like 30 to jail in like 4 seconds. It's just crazy fast. At the very least, you're keeping up, if not probably beating every time cars like M340i's, S4s, whatnot. So I think for somebody who's interested in just kind of stoplight drag racing, which I'm not necessarily condoning, for those who are interested, this is not a bad option if that's your main aspiration. It's hard to find more value for money in that regard than this car. But this is kind of where I got to talk about the other driving dynamics and the things that maybe some of the Tesla enthusiasts aren't as curious about, but I got to mention. For instance, the tires these cars come with, especially the non-performance level vehicles, they come with 235s all around. These are the optional 19-inch wheels that look cooler, but reduced range compared to the Aero style wheels. But a lot of people take off the Aero part, so it kind of makes them not better for range again. But I digress. The point I was trying to make is that the tires that come on these, like these 19s, come on 235s all around. They're eco tires, which shouldn't surprise you as this is a EV, but they're not the most conducive to sportier performance driving. Again, off the line, in a straight line, you're fine, or just flooring it in a straight line, you're fine. But they're not performance tires. And of course, you could swap them out for something like Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's or something of that nature. But it's just that you're gonna notice that, or like the suspension's a little bit looser than you would hope for a car that you want to drive a bit more aggressively or with a sense of performance, or and again, it's such a quick car and it competes with cars that really are sporty cars. In certain ways, this car isn't sporty. But I gotta be honest, because I started this off by saying
I'm a car enthusiast, I see Teslas as, appliances, and I want to hate them, want to say I have Tesla, whatever.
I kind of do like this car, and I do completely see the value in this car. I'm anti the whole autopilot mindset, but the fact that you can hop in one of these, drive around comfortably, quietly, listening to great music on your standard Harman Kardon audio system, at least in this mid-level vehicle, you can floor this car and pass most cars on the road, or at least in most situations feel like you have the performance capabilities of passing or even impressing people at your own discretion. But the point is, you get all of that in a way that you kind of don't in some of the competition. And the steering is surprisingly sharp in this car. In fact, it's a little bit like fidgety and twitchy with how quick it is. So like, I'm so used to BMWs being a bit dead on center, and a little bit of movement doesn't do too much despite the steering being heavy. In this car, a little bit of movement and the car is twitching all over the road. I mean, not in a bad way, but it gives you that playful, light, little sport car feeling. But here's the finale. Here's the thing I gotta end it with. This car is really fun in every way at like 7/10. But anytime you push it for a prolonged period of time or take it to the full limit, it does begin to taper off in the sense of fun, capability, and performance. What I mean is, this car actually does kind of have all of the ingredients of a sporty car, but when you put it all together, it's kind of missing the sauce. It's kind of missing the special sauce. It's the truth. I'm willing to put aside things like quality control issues that Teslas consistently have. I'm willing to set aside the fact that you're missing some of the drama and the theater of the exhaust and the noise, but at the end of the day, when I'm really trying to give it the full beans and I'm flooring this car and I'm in it, I kind of start thinking about those things. I'm like, where is that snarling exhaust note I'm waiting for, to accompany my speed? Basically, at the end of the day, you're taking a really good car, a great bang for buck car, and a really cool car, but it is missing some things when it comes to luxury. It is missing some things when it comes to quality, and it is missing some things when it comes to the fun factor, because beyond being exceptionally fast in a straight line, it doesn't have that special secret sauce that makes you want to drive, that makes you want to go on a canyon road. But it's still a really good car, and it's still an exceptionally fast and capable car. But one thing I don't like about the glass, I gotta mention as well, is that if you're a little taller like I am and you're sitting in the back, and I've experienced this in other people's Model 3s, my head is very close to the roof of the car, and the headliner, I should say, more. But because instead of a headliner, there's glass here, when I'm sitting in the back and we hit a little bump in the road, I'm just afraid that my head's gonna hit the glass instead of hit something soft, and that would hurt. So then I end up slouching, so I'm giving myself a little extra space, and it's just not, it's one of those little things I just want to mention here at the end for those who have made it to the end, so you know it, or you're cognizant of it. But you got all these cameras, you got all this cool stuff, and it's a Tesla, so it's definitely fun, it's definitely sporty, and it's a very Elon vibe. I'm gonna say it, it's a little sexy Elon vibe. And I said sexy because Model S, Model 3 flipped, Model X, Model Y, sexy. Okay, whatever. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you guys very much. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tune back in for more. This is Rio. Peace.